Tshwane FM is taking over Victoria. Tshwane FM 93.6. The future is now. Call us now, 012-382-4936. That's 012-382-493.6.
Their entire lives. Bane voice yok toy ya bane voice yok shela bane voice normal bese bane voice yok pen. It's always something like this. Bane shisi library for fun. Bese bala the municipality nye voice yani yok toy yok complain. I check ya zinu na maskwala boy. Athina so ishisa le library uzobona ukuthi abantu abagcweleza kwa. Masa khuluma so ivoice ya change. Voice yokushela angabelele tho asinini nithisela mistake yethu bese ubane voice normal it kicks in all the time makacela ukubizolo makacela umetshisi sho speech angayisix umetshisi khona uspeech akanaso uza ngapha kumavukhini mavukeni angastixometisi umavukeni makaceda ukumgaistixometisi like izolo ushaya iphafe once kwi-voice yokubhema wena nithi gaistixometisi bazafayisa abakalacala abaphuthi bavukeni yokucecebelile. Are you guys aware ukuthi abantu ababhema izolo abekho right? They can walk for 10 kilometers without talking to each other. Bayavaya bothenga izolo ilanga liyashisa, it's 12 p.m. Bafika ababhaya izolo bayabuya still abakakhulumi. Mabahlala phansi, that's when they realize ukuthi whatever that we were supposed to be talking while we were going there, nayo le nto khani ifika manje. Because nakaceda ukushaya izolo, nakaceda ukushaya iphafe walalela. Liyashisa lilanga.
Call us now, 010-382-4936. That's
012-382-4936.
Aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena. But the question is, why do you want to lead? In Africa, the shortest route to ill-gotten wealth is political leadership. If you want to get wealth without working for it at all, join African politics. That is the truth everywhere in Africa except for very few places. The only place that stands out now in that regard is Tanzania with President John Pombe Magufuli. The rest in Africa, I do not know. Excuse me, I'm a visitor. They hunt and gather buildings and cars and money. And that is why African leadership does not attract our best men and women. And African electorate also responds to money. I do not know whether it happens here in Africa, in Ghana. The African electorate also expects to be bribed so that they can vote. And until the day we are able to exercise the ghost of ethnicity, among other things, and the ghost of corruption in Africa, Africa will never get good leaders. 93.6.
For 9 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock is a great evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. The Capital Talk, it's where you're at between the hour 6 and exactly 8 p.m. My name is Mokete Radebe. I'm your host tonight, and I'm with you till the hour 8 p.m. It's a lovely Monday evening. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight and really taking your time to engage with us tonight, and it's going to be an interesting one. We've got a cool lineup of guests that are going to speak to us tonight. Setting up your show, those are great songs, man, from numerous, talented musicians. Setting up, it was Tate Kifa singing the title of the song. It's titled Matwale. And following that, it was the late Brenda Fassie with a track titled "The Black President." And likewise, we are coming through to you live on Facebook. It is Tshwane Space FM Space 93.6 on the Mokete Radebe Facebook account. I am coming through live to you there as well. Otherwise, if you search for Mokete Radebe on YouTube, we can engage and we can have a lovely discussion. I see Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi, our guest for tonight, is joining us as well. Mr. Liswika Kwinana, Black Vanilla Checha, Tebogo Mpufane, Mr. Kiamo Masike, and Lebogang Sibitoane are joining us as well on the Mokete Radebe Facebook account. And I see there's already a comment from Mr. Alfred Lebenyani on Tshwane FM 93.6 Facebook, and he says, Dumelang, I like to say the show is wow. Thanks to Tshwane FM 93.6. I'm Alfred Levignani from Social. Keep it up, hashtag Tshwane FM. Alfred, thank you so much for joining us, my brother. Earlier on I was on TUT FM, and the one thing that I couldn't, forget to say was how grateful we are as, presenters on air. Often people will think that, we are the ish and you guys, are listeners because of us, while actually it's the other way around. We are presenters because of you guys as listeners, and we from time to time forget to mention how grateful we are for the opportunity to be on this platform. And this is all because of people like you who from time to time listen to us. You listen to us from when we were still learning. Even at this point in time, we were still trying to fine-tune the kind of work that we do, and we're really grateful for that. And we hope and pray that God may bless you, that you too may be recognized and you may find support in the various spheres of life where you have been, pursuing some of your things. Today we, set up the show with a little bit of motivation, and this one is from Professor, Elo Lumumba, and as he speaks to us about leadership in Africa, and obviously notwithstanding what is happening in South Africa. And earlier on, as I was listening to some of the things, and he says something very important. He mentioned how we need to from time to time remember that criticism it's not for its. If criticism is for its sake, then it's definitely not wisdom. So sometimes as people we just want to criticize because of criticism is something that is allowed. But if it's really just for the sake of criticism, then it has lost the viability of wisdom. And he says we need to speak with firmness that will open the eyes of our brothers and not awaken their anger. So sometimes, or rather not the arrogance that will awaken their anger. Sometimes we miss the point because of the manner in which we speak, or we sort of send the message to the other person. Timing is quite important. The tone is important as well, but also the goal. The goal is not to make another person to feel bad, but is to, in all ways, try to make a gesture that will make them realize that you're actually on the same side, and in that way it becomes support. It doesn't become arrogance. And another important point, he says. The way he used to speak as a second-year student in varsity is not the same way he speaks today. I wouldn't have agreed more. Even though you're saying the same thing today, how you spoke then as a child can never be the same as how you speak now as an adult. And I think during these lockdowns, we engage quite a lot with family members. We engage quite a lot with people around us. And the one constant thing has always been, how do you, as a person, manage relations with those around you without making them to feel inferior around you? Because I think that is something that is quite essential, and from time to time as people we don't view that. We don't realize that sometimes the words we speak are in one way or the other belittling other people, and that's quite unfortunate. And speaking about democracy, I like the fact that there's been a huge contestation of how democracy should be, and especially during this period. And something very important, Professor Pielo Lumumba mentioned was that the composition or the structure of democracy is in such a way that the minority will always view will always have their say or view their views without fear, but it is the majority that will have their way. So just because you're in the majority, do not abuse the fact that you will always have your way. Take to heart what the minority is saying, because just because of they're in the minority doesn't unconsciously suggest that they are not right. And Malebo was just reminding me that she's up next, and of course we'll be jumping into her just now. I see God MC the brand says that the Capital Court, the Capital Talk. I'm glad radio station have to touch topics like this. Thank you so much, my brother. I think we have to speak about all these things, especially issues around depression, issues around how do you remain positive during this, debacle. Yeah, the lockdown with COVID-19 also just around the corner. We take a quick break. When we come back, we speak to Mrs. Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi to speak to us at this point in time. 36 after 6 o'clock. The Capital Talk is definitely where you are. Thank you so much for your listening pleasure tonight.
Some of the churches, they don't need your qualification. They have nothing to do with your education, Bujish. Bujish! Boy, since it was 1909, 1910, long before I was born, Saulo, they are 1916, Bujish. They are 1928.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good. Please stay on the line. You ready, Muslim?
Alright.
Sharp.
I live in 2015.
Tshwane FM 93.3.
37 after the hour, 6 o'clock. The Capital Talk is still where you're at. The radio station that you're tuning into now is Tshwane FM 93.6. And my name is Mokete Radebe, your host tonight, better known as the News Pioneer. And we are indeed pioneering these news all the way to your ears tonight. On the line, I'm joined by Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi. Just after this, introduction, we'll be checking also what's happening on the roads. But for now, here's Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi. She's our wellness coach, and she's going to talk to us about the various things that we need to know during this lockdown. Malebo, good evening, and thank you so much for joining to us, my sister.
Good evening. I'm so excited because today I'm talking about the things that I love.
Is it? So you love coaching?
I love wellness. I love health. I love fitness. So this is the thing,
I like the fact that you are so excited, even from the tone of your voice, that you're speaking about the things that you love. And you can correct me. A lot of people like looking sexy and feeling positive and feeling, proper. But when it comes to the actual act of investing time into those things, they never get around to do that. And the reasons really vary from one reason to the other. How did you make love to this difficult thing that a lot of people are not seem to be mastering?
Okay, I think a lot of us, even me previously, because I started my fitness journey especially end of 2013, but I was not that consistent because we start our journey with the physical body. Your physical body gets tired. So we are looking at fitness as a form of a physical body exercise. And because it's a physical body, it will get tired and then you will go home and then you decide after 3 months again to get back. But beyond the physical body, there is a mind. So if we can put it into our minds that actually we are strengthening, this is an exercise for the mind, it's not only for the body, then we will be able to achieve what we want. Some clever person said, if your mind is weak, your body will suffer. So some people are actually suffering from a weak mind, okay? Not that it's a bad thing, but I mean, they do not have that mind muscle that can get their body to the gym or to run or whatever they want to achieve with their bodies.
Tshwane, is 39 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock, and on the line, I'm joined by the lovely Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi. She's a wellness coach. I see people like Pelele Kuru is joining us, one of my best friends, Mr. Ishmael Mokete. This is my primary school teacher joining us on the line. I see Lebogang Tabise Mokhosi as well. We'll be having her very soon this week as well. She's joining us, and I appreciate all those comments. And she says, Malebo, we are listening. And Mr. Ishmael says, why am I playing Mr. Rex Rabanya? Because that's an older song. I'm young at heart, but I'm old here and there. Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi is joining us on the line 012-3824-884. That's where you can engage with us. We're coming through to you live on Facebook and on YouTube. Tshwane FM 93.6 and Mokete Radebe is where you can engage with us. Otherwise, it is 93.6 on the Student Shop, where we are coming through as well, streaming to you from any part of the country. Malebo, you mentioned, quite key points regarding wellness and really people taking initiatives with regards to that. Look, part of our discussion today, we're also talking about depression and how it has actually, cornered a lot of people. But just outside of depression, we know that it is not easy for people to find, a sense of positiveness, during this lockdown. How do you what are some of the technical tips that an individual can actually adopt to have the motivation to really be able to be positive during this period?
Okay, so let me talk about depression first, because I think it's a subject that a lot of people are missing out. They're thinking that depression or depressed people are fed people who do not appreciate what they have, which is totally wrong. So this is where health and fitness comes in. So depression is actually an imbalance in the brain. So this can be caused by a whole lot of things, but for now I'll talk about food. The food that we are eating is not as 100% natural as it is. And my husband always says that when they are back there in Zimbabwe, they are eating, you can feel the texture of the food. But in South Africa, we have a lot of, middlemen who are doing what and what. And when the food comes to us, it's no longer as nutritious as it's supposed to be. And when we are eating, and again, some people are eating more of junk food and food that are not healthy for them, even though the food is healthy, but it's not healthy for them. So at some point, it causes an imbalance in the brain, and that can cause depression. So one of the things that I can suggest,
Malebo, permit me to rudely interject you right there. I think you're raising a vital point there, and I don't want us to lose the listener at home as well. You made a mention of people eating healthy food that are not suitable for them. How's that possible?
Okay, so for myself, I would say for myself, because really there are people who are working with this, like dietitians, nutritionists, and all that. For myself, keto diet, like eating green things, is not entirely healthy for me, especially as a runner, because when you are running, you need to have more of starch. So when people are trying to lose weight, they would cut out starch, carbs, and bread and all those things, because we have been conditioned to believe that those things are not healthy for us. But as a runner, it is healthy for me, because when I run, it gives me more energy. So I cannot say that this is healthy for you, Mokete, or not. You need to consult with a professional who works with food, so that they would tell you what is healthy for you, because some things can be healthy, like keto diet, your benching, all of that can be healthy, but not necessarily healthy for you. So you need to find out what is healthy for Mokete, because what is healthy for Mokete is not healthy for my neighbor. You understand that?
I hear you. And I reckon this is also in terms of, dealing also with the chronicles of, being cornered or depressed during COVID-19. It can never be a one-size-fits-all. Am I correct?
Yes. Depression varies from person to person. Some people, depression is a chronic illness. It's like diabetes. So you might, maybe your mom or your family has a line of mental illnesses. So maybe you have gotten it from there. And some people, it's maybe the diet. Some people, it's really different things. So you really need to get into or consult a professional for that in order for you to know what is it that is going on with you. But depressed people are not entirely sad people. It's just that because the brain is not functioning well, there is a chemical imbalance in your brain. That is the reason why they become sad, even though they don't know why they are sad. But what I have, I actually had tried to consult who were depressed, and I have friends of mine who have come to me and told me that they have been diagnosed with depression. And as much as I wanted to help them in that area, sometimes we just need to be there. We don't really need to say anything. Just because you are a coach, it doesn't mean that you can now help a person who is currently struggling with depression. But by just me being there and talking to them whenever they need me, it helps them become better in that situation. So coming back to your point where you're saying how can a person be positive, especially in this time, because there are people who are going to lose their jobs this time. There are people who don't know if they're going to get their salaries. What I can say is that in the Bible they say ask and then you will receive. Next, there's a lady who came to me and said, you know, there was a time when you made a WhatsApp video where you said, can we now focus on the recovery of the people who had corona? Because now what we do is that we are busy focusing on the negative side. And that's another way of asking, even though we are not speaking it out, but we are asking it to come to us. But shift your perspective to what can be possible now. What can I do right now? What is it that is there? Or if you don't have anything, you don't have where you can get your money, take it into existence and say, I have a job that is paying me 30,000 after deductions. Whether you don't have it or you have it, that you are calling it into existence, because that's the power that God has given us, that whatever that you speak, you give back to, like you are putting it from wherever it was in the spiritual places to where it in your life. So this lady said when she shifted her focus, she lost her job before the lockdown, and then now during the lockdown, they said so many people are going to lose their jobs. But when she watched that video that I did that concentrate on the positive, she decided to shift her focus to concentrate on the positive. And during this lockdown, she got another job in a company that she always wanted to work in.
Wow.
So if we can just shift our focus from problems to possibilities, what can be there? And we have our minds to visualize, we have the words, the power of words to bring forth what we want. So that's what I can say when you're asking me about being positive during this time.
Malebo, I know that there's just a series of things that I can talk to you about, but from time to time when we have guests in studio, we look at the problem and try to provide a solution to just the individual alone. But I think through observation, life has actually taught us that no man is an island. And often what becomes difficult, or rather what becomes a stumbling block for people to recover, it's actually due to the lack of support that or the attitude of those around them. Now, if I'm an individual now listening, and at times it's an issue, or I'm not even aware that the people around me are depressed, or the person around me is depressed, or these are symptoms and signs of depression, but maybe just as a form of advice, what should be the attitude for us people? Even if I'm in a good space, I didn't lose my job, I'm fine. What should be the attitude towards my neighbors, the people around me? What sort of things should I be posting on my social media page? How sensitive should I be with the manner in which I engage with others during this period?
Okay, what I can say is that let us be positive. I always say that let us have a ritual that we do in the morning before we can even get out there to the world. Because most of the time when we wake up, we go through Facebook, we want to check who answered what, who responded to what, and we are responding to the world before we can respond to ourselves. So firstly, let us work on ourselves, and then when we work on ourselves, when people see me, energy doesn't lie with you. So if my energy is negative, you can feel it, whether it's on radio or whether it's on Facebook or whatever. But when you work on yourself, people can be able to look at Malebo's profile or post on Facebook and say, wow, this woman, I'm so motivated. I don't know her, but I'm so motivated. By working on yourself, because when you work on yourself, you work on your healing, you work on your money, you work on everything. And then when you get out there, people are seeing this energy and they want to be as positive as you are. So that's what I can say. Have a morning ritual where you work on yourself, whether you pray in the morning, whether you meditate in the morning, and you exercise, you work on your energy. Because when you work on yourself, you're not going to be focusing on the negative things that, Corona is doing this and lockdown, You're not going to be focusing on that. You're going to be focusing on what can I serve to the world at this point. And this is what I decided to do this time of Corona. And I said, what can I serve to the world? Because now people are not in a positive mindset. They are not, good and things like that. What can I serve? And I said, I can serve them with fitness, just like that. And me being me, loving my fitness, people are starting to say, okay, I'm going to run, I'm going to walk, I'm going to. And the more people see that they can do certain things that they thought they cannot do, that they open up areas of their lives that, they can, I can run. It means that I can also save 100 rand a month. You see, things like that.
It's 51 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock on 012-382-4884. It's where you can call us tonight. Alternatively, we are available on 082-538-5810. That is the number for our WhatsApp, and you can send your voice notes there. The title of the show is The Capital Talk. On the line, we're speaking to the coach, that is Mrs. Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi, and speaking to us about critical things. She's a coach, very influential on social media as well, hosting various virtual classes. She's an author, published author. One of the best sellings. I think she has written and published a lot of books. She's also a publisher of books, and she does so many things. She's also, I know she's a medalist. Is it the Soweto Marathon? Comrades Marathon. Very, 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 positive, very, very motivated individual, very inspirational as well. Malebo, thank you so much. But there's just so much that people can get out of you. I know that, unfortunately, we can't keep you here as much as I would have wanted us to keep you here. But for other people to also just, carry on jumping on, this great, wisdom that you have, how can people get a hold of you?
Okay, I am on social media. I have my fitness page because I thought, I need to do fitness separately because I do a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
So I have my fitness page called Body Transformation with Malebo, if you want to follow me for fitness. And I also have my pages, Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi. So that's where I post all my motivation and the things that I am doing.
And when they want your books, how can they get a hold of you for that? I do know that you've got a couple of books that you've written.
Yes, they can call me on 071-147-2389.
That's it. 53 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock. This is Malebo. Before I let you go, your final argument, your word that you'd want, the listener at home to just grasp for tonight's conversation with you.
Okay, I would say to your listeners that there is always something greater that is trying to emerge in you, and you just need to be ready for it. And this whole situation that is going on is actually trying to show us that we can do certain things even though we are not at certain places.
Amazing. The one thing that I was actually sharing with people during this period was actually, yes, everything has been just quite, difficult. But the one thing that this lockdown has actually forced us to do is to become united. For the first time, it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's not a female's thing, it's not a male's thing. It's a dynamic challenge that is facing the human race. And for the first time as society, we are united. And I think it's something quite humbling as well. But thank you so much for joining us, Manis.
Thank you.
Yes, Tshwane, that is Mrs. Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi, who was speaking to us on the line, and she's a wellness coach, author, motivational speaker. This lady does the most, hey? These are people that inspire us from time to time. It's 55 minutes after the hour, 6 o'clock. If you just jumped in, this is the Capital Talk. My name is Mokete Radebe, your news pioneer, and I'm coming through between 6 and 8 p.m. every Monday to Thursday, right here on Cap City's number one, and that is Tshwane FM 93.6, 012-382-4884, otherwise 082-538-5810. We're taking your WhatsApps there. This one is titled Unketsang. It's by Ntate Rex Rabanye. I'm checking what's happening on the roads. If you are on your way to Pretoria on Bremer Street, traffic lights are not working at the R80 Mabopane Highway, also still in Pretoria. The R566 Roslyn Road, traffic lights are not working at Ernest Oppenheimer Road, still at Centurion, just towards Centurion, the Olive and Hotwash, traffic lights are not working at Drakensberg Road. In Centurion, John Foster Drive, traffic lights are not working at the N1 Highway. In Pretoria, Solomon Mahlangu Drive, traffic lights are not working at the Brongo Street Road. And at Rudaport, Renfontaine Road, westbound, there's a congestion queuing traffic at the Durban Deep Road. In Rivonia, the 12th Avenue, the road is closed. There is repairs that are happening at the bridge section there. So do drive with caution and keep a safe following distance. Heading towards Johannesburg, the Rea Vaya bus services are operating, on limited times. So do remember of that. In Clayville, the road is closed between the 42nd and 32nd Street. But in Hammanskraal, there's a major event that is causing delays just around the Carousel Plaza on the N1. So that is all for our traffic update at this point in time. On hashtag Tshwane Traffic, that's where you can engage with us and give us your view on what is happening in and around you.
And anyone, but in my house I do. It's situational ethics. It may apply here, but not everywhere. Do you understand situational ethics? So situational ethics doesn't have a constant, non-changing, unconditional principle. Situational ethics gauges the situation and asks, will this work here? If not, then you don't. But tomorrow it might work somewhere, then you do it. Israel has become a country of situational ethics. That is why the Bible keeps on repeating the line, and everyone did what was right in his own sight. Because whatever God had taught them, they were no longer interested. God has given them timeless principles. But for them, they prefer a post-modernic setting where you do what you do and please don't see when I do what I do. They have become a post-modernic society. You have Levites that live with idols. Levites that have concubines. It has become
are you ready for us?
A place where each does what is right in his own sight.
Sharp.
If you, Mfundisi, don't want a concubine, that's your issue. I want one. Are you with me? So if you don't like idols, that's okay. That's your way. I like idols. So you have the post-modernism, the situational ethics is not just in society. The leaders have become leaders of situational ethics. So there is no wrong, there is no right. It's all circumstantial, depending on the angle you are coming from. So in other words, if they were a church like today, we would be in a position where we say, a poor guy gets a girl pregnant, disfellowship him. A rich guy gets a girl pregnant. Let us look at the merits. How did this happen? Are you with me? It was a country now of situational ethics.
Have your say on Tshwane FM 93.6. This is Tshwane FM 93.6.
I said,
Check it out, y'all, right now. 93.6. 93.6. Subsidies number one. Tshwane FM 93.6. Your station. Your station.
It's 7 o'clock, top of the hour, and Ida was speaking to Mrs. Malebo Oldjohn-Tsindi. If you just jumped in, this is the Capital Talk. We're here on Tshwane FM 93.6, and Malebo is a wellness coach and an author, as she was just coaching us, on the segment around wellness and how to really, run away from the snares of depression. And looking at some of your comments, I see Pindo Pagati says he's watching all the way from KZN, and Refueler Pale as well, saying she might call. Thank you so much. We'd appreciate your call. I'm checking some of your comments as well on WhatsApps, and I'll be playing some, if not most of them. And you do remember that we actually spoke to you on WhatsApp regarding the proposed opening of schools, and I checked some of your comments, and here there's one Noktula who says, I think schools are more safer than at home, because now emakhaya bathuma izingane ezitolo. You find kids everywhere, even at town. So I think schools that way they will be. That's where they will be safer. You can just hit us up and tell us what's your view in that regard, and we'll read your comment or play it if it's a voice note on air. On the line, we're joined by the Secretary of the Educators Union, that is Mr. Kabelo Mahlubukhani, also a member of the Economic Freedom Fighters Student Command. And I'm not sure if he's still part of the Student Command, because I'm not sure if he's now a worker or still a student, but he'll let us know. Ntate Mahlubukhani, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Good evening, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Are you still in the Student Command or EFF fully the Mara body now?
We are part of the community now. We are part of the working class. So our struggle is that one that is focused with the community. I'm now volunteering my services in the National Labour Committee of the EFF.
Okay, all right.
I'm a member of the mother body now. We've graduated with politics.
No, that's good. There has to be progress. But thank you so much for joining us, and we are really delighted that you are going to share the knowledge with us today. Look, we're quite aware that the Minister of Basic Education, Minister Njimutsekha, met today again with MECs and heads of departments, to assess whether schools can be classified as ready to open after weeks of lost time. Now, the department, among others, has appealed for patience as it works through the mammoth task of ensuring the safe return of thousands of pupils to classrooms as early as next month. Tomorrow, we will be hearing a presentation by the minister. From your side, Kabelo, and the entire educators, what is your position? What is the one thing that you guys are really looking forward, to hear from the minister? What is the one thing that definitely you guys are standing on and you cannot compromise?
Look, we cannot allow ourselves to be in a position where we get our hands dirty with mail just because some people feel the urge and the rush to loot from the 500 billion that was made available by the president. As teachers, we are very clear, we are very adamant that we are not going to go back to work only to get the young children unsuspecting and so innocent killed by this virus that is clearly so deadly that it will put the whole world into a stop. So I think that whatever that is happening there, we were not even consulted with teachers. And this is a decision that is taken by people who are not even in the classroom, taken by people who are speaking from both rooms with air conditioners, people who are not even back to work themselves, who are saying that we must go back to work. So that's not going to happen. We are very clear there that it's not going to happen. Schools are not going to open. If they open, the teachers are not going to report for duty then.
Interesting. Now, in the position that you guys are taking, or rather in really, the views that you guys are alleviating to us tonight, what are some of the considerations that you guys took place, apart from the fact that children might actually be infected. And I think maybe the other important thing for us is, are you guys saying that students must not come? I mean, learners rather must not come, or you're saying everyone must not come? Because there's also other proposed views that perhaps teachers should come through and start, working and maybe or teaching learners remotely, but from schools. What is actually the entire view, and what also informs it? Is it the issue of the fact that you guys are not totally, convinced that the schools are physically, ready to open and they can, offer the best environment that will, make sure that there won't be any infections? Is what really informs, some of the views that you've just, alleviated to us tonight?
Primarily, as I said here, Mokete, that the COVID-19 is a very deadly virus that kills those that are so well resourced with medical aids and everything. And then it is a virus that actually also affects and kills doctors, it kills medical practitioners themselves. So what is it that we as teachers who are only trained to stand in front of a class and give education going to do? In fact, an instance, we are not even trained. No one in basic education is trained on how to deal with this virus. And there's seemingly and suddenly a rush for schools to open. We don't understand what is the motivation behind it or what informs it. So that is why we are saying that we cannot allow a situation whereby the country itself is struggling to deal with this virus. The numbers are growing every day. The numbers are growing very speedily. Communities, parents, adults, Parliament is not open because they are stranded. They don't know how they deal with it. Parliament, by the way, is only about 400 members, maybe and a few staff members. But the end themselves are afraid to open because they are stranded. They don't know how to deal with this virus. And then in such a situation, they want schools to open. Where is sense there? Especially from adults who are parents themselves. Where is the love there that Africans have been preaching for so many years to their children? What is happening? What has come to be of our government and our leaders? We are very shocked actually ourselves now to say, what is happening? We want them really to explain to us. Is there someone that is holding a gun to their head and saying, open because you owe me a favor? What's happening? Because clearly, if Parliament itself is shocked and doesn't know how to respond to this, how are we as schools going to respond? We are teachers and we are saying we are not ready. So who else should be ready? Who else should tell them that a school should open? If we teachers ourselves are saying to them, we do not know how to handle this, we are stressed ourselves. So how are we supposed the same people that are saying we don't know what to do to go back and work? What is that? Where's the sense there?
Interesting. Another vital point, Kabelo, is what has been the modalities in terms of engagements between the ministry, the various departments, and the various stakeholders like you guys as the Union of Educators. Has there been any conversations with you regarding these plans to open and whatsoever? What has been the role of that is played by you guys in this whole thing?
The Department of Education is trying to play a very political game, not very smart. So in them saying they're consulting, they only consult those organizations which agree with them that schools must open. They have never consulted us. We were actually only consulted by the Department of Education in the Western Cape, the provincial department. And then when we were consulted by the department, the MEC of Education that side said it clearly. And he said to us, look, what the department is saying is lies. They are telling dreams. Nothing is going to be ready there. And as a result, as a department of the province, if they force that school must open, I will be forced to ask that principals themselves must sanitize schools because there is no way, even in the budget that I have right now, that I can afford to hire even one extra teacher in the school. So what is going to happen is that we are going to go back to the same environment and we are going to be faced with the same conditions. He said it very clearly. The Department of Education, when they say they are consulting, you look at the people they are consulting, it's people who agree that schools must open because they know that when tenders go out, they are going to benefit one way or another. But they have not consulted everyone. If you look at teachers in their large numbers, they are saying that schools must not open. various surveys that were conducted, and teachers said clearly that they are not ready for this. But regardless of that, the minister is adamant that schools must open. And that's what is shocking. What is the rush? What is the interest that schools must open? And we don't know. We are still about to hear that. But as things stand, we represent teachers. And we are not part of any political game. So we are clear. Teachers have said to us, we are not ready for schools to open. And that's our stand. Schools must not open. And in this time, actually, we must also be able to call order to the community to say that people can never be coming here and raising that because children at home are playing outside in the street, therefore they must go to school. If you as a parent, you are failing to discipline your 3 kids so that they stay home and observe the regulations as announced by the president, how do you expect that as a senior teacher, I'm going to be able to discipline your 3 children that you are failing to discipline plus other 38 children in the classroom? Because we have classrooms that have over 80 learners as we speak. There is no plan, clear plan on what is going to happen there. The department is just saying, open, we will see. We have classrooms that have learners that are sharing a desk, 3 learners sharing a desk that is less than 1 meter in length. And the Minister of Health says there must be social distancing of at least 1 meter. What is going to happen if the department is saying that there must be 2 kids per desk, whereas this very same desk is not even 1 meter itself in length? Where is social distancing going to happen there?
Amazing. 11 minutes after the hour, 7 o'clock, Mr. Kabelo Oldjohn-Tsindi, that is the secretary of the Educators Union, speaking to us about the proposed reopening of schools and saying that they are against it and giving clear and sober views in terms of why they're taking that stance. Kabelo, I'm going to let you go, but before I do that, if the minister tomorrow announces that classes should and must resume, what would be the stance that you guys take as a union, and what should be the attitude or the manner in which educators need to act? What should be their movement if that is said tomorrow?
We are very lucky that Mokete live in a democratic country, which we are protected by a constitution as well. So what will happen is that tomorrow, if the minister makes that pronouncement, we are going to re-emphasize to our members that they must not even try and report on duty. When the minister says no teacher must go back to school and no teacher is going to go back to school, and then we will therefore be ready to take any legal action or to defend our members should they be threatened with a dismissal or any of that matter, because the basic conditions of employment state clearly that it is the responsibility of the employer to provide a safe working environment for the employees. And as things stand, there is no guarantee of a safe working environment for teachers in school. And on that basis, we will not be allowing our members to go to school. But we want to state clearly and further that should they force school to open, and should any school, because we know that there are other unions that are going to force their members to go to school. Should that happen, we are going to, or should anyone get infected, we are going to open a case of attempted murder against the minister, and we are going to argue that she should cover all the costs in her personal capacity, so that we do away with this thing of government officials taking decisions that are reckless, and at the end of the day, we, the taxpayers, have to fund the bill. So we are going to open a case against the department and the minister in a personal capacity of attempted murder and genocide. Should anyone in the Department of Education contact the virus because of this reckless decision of health to just use the money that is meant for better relief? So we are very clear. We've spoken to our legal team, they are ready, we've briefed them, we're just waiting for one reckless movement, and then we are going to the court.
Tshwane, it's 14 minutes after the hour, 7 o'clock. You are on the Capital Talk. And on the line, we're speaking to Mr. Kabelo Oldjohn-Tsindi. He's the Secretary General of the Educators Union. And he's speaking to us ahead of the Minister of Education, Minister Angie Motshekga's address to the media regarding a proposed plan to reopen schools. We're checking your comments as well in terms of your view on that. Kabelo, thank you so much, my brother, and a great evening to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's 14 after 7 o'clock, Tshwane. We are going to take a quick song. When we come back, we listen to some of your views. Remember, we still have that discussion around depression. We've got a specialist coming through to talk to us. This is Awesome Mpombewe. She's a specialist who have dealt with depression, from a professional side, and she's going to just take us through some of these steps. And I hope that even if it's just one person at home, that can be assisted through these discussions that we're having. 012-382-4884. It's where we're having these discussions tonight. I'm checking some of your comments as well on Facebook, and thank you so much to each and every person that is showing us love and giving us all those views on Facebook. We will be just playing them and reading some of them out there. If I missed any, Julie, forgive me. Tshwane FM 93.6 is the station that continues to rock most. My name is Mokete Radebe, and I'm with you till the hour 8 p.m. on 012-382-4884. It's where we are. We're streaming live on the Student Shop, and we're coming through on YouTube as well. It's Mokete Radebe, and on Facebook, this one is Space FM Space 93.6. This one is Lumumba featuring Kondri Zitu. The title of the song is Koro Koro Push.
Tshwane FM 1
And one thing I've realized, if a Zulu guy has to explain to you, he will make sure that you understand every line. But Umbedi, he wants you to read between the lines. He doesn't care whether you understand or not. Because if a Zulu guy was beating someone, who tell her, yeah, boy. Uthe uya ngobuka nje ngabona ukuthi ukhona ukushama. Hayi ngathukuthela. Ngambamba kanje ngamhlanganisa nodonga. Ngamshaya nje. Wawela phansi, ngamvuza. Ngamhlanganisa nodonga. Ngamshaya kanje. Balamulo makhi kanti ke ngibizi ngaye ngashaya. But the big guy, he looks at all talk about Rihanna.
The best. Tshwane FM 93.6.
Your music, your station.
It's your boy DJ Barsaras.
93.6. Tshwane FM 93.6. Your station, your music. This is Tshwane FM 93.6. 93.6. The mother of all radio stations. Tshwane FM 93.6, keeping you on top in Cap City. City's number one radio station. Call us now. 010-382-4936. That's 012-382-496.
Hi, Mpo, how are you?
I'm not into
I'm good. Are you ready for us?
Yes, I am.
Please stay on the line.
Perfect.
Two after the hour, 7 o'clock, and Tshwane, yeah, you are still tuned in the Capital Talk right here on Tshwane FM 93.6, and that song, it's by a Platform One, and the title of the song is Itude, another lovely tune, man, of music, one of the golden oldies, man, of these songs. And before that, we also had something by Master KG. The title of the song is Qinisela, and before that is just another interesting song, I must say, from this young lad on the topic that we had with Mr. Kabelo Mahlubokhwane, and that is on whether schools should be reopened or not. And Mukhari says from Pretoria West, Mina, I don't want my kids to go back to school this year, and that is as far as her contribution there. And on depression, and but this anonymous said that how she overcame depression was running, or rather exercising, and a lot of prayer, counseling, and that one best friend that she had to lean on. Remember, we are weighing on various topics today. It's the issue around depression, and how you can actually help us in terms of if you've dealt with it before. But also, we was asking about schools on whether they should be opened or not. And I'm obviously checking some of your comments as well. And I know that there's voice notes that were sent through as well with regards to the opening of schools and the depression as well as another case that is there. But I wanted to play the first clip or rather voice note on the opening of schools, and just to hear some of your views with regards to that.
Powerful. Ku ya ka mehe mhaka ku tlhela xikolweni ka lembe leriwa ni nge swi pfumeleli mhaka ku hi chavula vutomi bya mehe, mara na swi lava ku ni tsala grade 12 ku lembe leri taka ni ta kota ku ya varsity.
Is around 93.6.
and I know people that suffer from depression but have got over it. One got counseling, the other one just got over it by speaking to people about it, about the issues that she had. Yeah.
Have your say on Tshwane FM 93.6. Call us now, 010-382-4936. That's 012-382-4936.
This thing about lockdown process, after the topic, and neither do I or have met somebody who encountered it person, that sometimes it's building up because we don't know, are we gonna go back to normal or are we gonna leave this life of lockdown? Because I think there's level to us with level 1, level 2, 3, 4, 5, and the corona case is increasing. And we see people retiring, we see. So how long will it continue? Because even though there's lockdown, there's not so big the future like this thing of corona can last to the end.
Tshwane FM is taking over Pretoria. Tshwane FM 93.6. The future is now.
So it's 37 minutes after the hour, 7 o'clock. On the line, we're now joined by our specialist, and her name is Mpo Mbewe. She's speaking to us tonight, and she's going to, educate us about the various things that obviously would want to know about depression. And as we all know that I think during this pandemic and also the lockdown, we've seen scores of people that have been cornered in their own thoughts, which has, in one way or the other led to what we've come to know as depression. There's a lot of myths around this, and I'm glad that Mpo is joining us. Mpo, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Mokete, and thank you for having me. Good evening to your listeners, and thank you for this opportunity to come and speak to you again.
Awesomeness. Look, there's just so many myths around what depression is, and there's also a lot of obstacles that are constantly preventing us as ordinary citizens of this country, especially from various cultural beliefs and traditions and religious views, where we have been from time to time forced to even not believe that there is such a thing as depression. As a specialist in this profession, just take us through what is depression, and how can we, scientifically, define or point out if one is suffering from it?
Okay, so depression is one of the disorders that we would categorize in terms of mood disorders. Okay, and depression as one of the mood disorders has varying symptoms. I think one thing that I want to also highlight and pick up on, which you've mentioned, is the myth about depression, in that people understand or have this perception of depression as looking a certain way, people presenting a certain way. So individuals could be more sad and withdrawn and all of that. And while those may be true, when it does come to the different aspects or the different diagnoses and disorders within mood disorders, there isn't a certain look to depression. So it looks different and it feels different across different people or within different people. Okay, but there are some common symptoms that people do experience when we are referring to experiences of depression or depressive symptoms. Okay, firstly, it's a persistent or an ongoing low mood. It can be characterized by sadness or emptiness and even anxiety. Okay, and then we're also looking at other symptoms like loss of interest or a sense of hopelessness and helplessness. Some people experience insomnia where they have difficulty sleeping, and other people tend to experience hypersomnia where they are sleeping for longer periods of time. So they wanting to find themselves sleeping more often than not. right? And then you also have people who experience difficulties with their appetite. So it could be that they find themselves eating more or eating less, right? And then other symptoms which are very prominent or that really would indicate depressive symptoms would be your suicide ideation. So thoughts of harming oneself or thoughts of taking one's life, even attempts would be obviously count as indicators to depressive symptoms. And then I think one thing that I want to also look into in terms of depression within the pandemic is the withdrawal or social isolation. This before lockdown or before experiencing the pandemic was quite a significant indicator. But now that we are all experiencing a sense of withdrawal, having our day-to-day lives changing and being having to experience social distancing, now this looks a bit different. So even within the home environment where you are living with certain people, or even if you're living alone, you are still experiencing that sense of withdrawal or social isolation where you are keeping to yourself more often than not, right? So that is another indicator. And also when we're looking at the social withdrawal or the social isolation, we're also looking at breakdown in relationships. So with the pandemic, a lot of people are talking about, reaching out to the people that you love, reaching out to your friends and keeping those, relationships alive, be it through social media or online presence. And you'll find that some people who are experiencing some depressive symptoms aren't actively doing that. And that can be an indicator to some depressive symptoms that may be arising within them. And then other people also experience an increase in drug or substance use, right? So even though those are sort of lockdown restrictions at this point, some people would be going to certain lengths to acquire those substances and use those substances in order to mask the depressive symptoms, right? And then lastly, I think other symptoms that I want to also highlight are physical symptoms. So headaches, chronic pain or digestive problems could also be indicators of indicators of depressive symptoms that an individual could experience. All right. So with the symptoms that I've just gone through now, they obviously need to be more than one present. And so when we're looking at the diagnosis, we're looking at presence of 4 or more of these symptoms. So if you are experiencing a lot of the symptoms that I have mentioned, then it could be about considering reaching out and getting certain or reaching out for avenues of help, be it within the family environment or looking for treatment, be it online presence or looking for someone that you can see face to face, just to explore these experiences, but also to ensure that if these experiences or symptoms that you're experiencing are depressive symptoms, that you're getting the appropriate help.
Before after the hour 7 o'clock, and that is Mpombe were joining us in the line. Mpo, in dealing with this sickness, I think the challenge, or rather in identifying this, the challenge is not so much sometimes on the fact that we are able to sort of see the science or comprehend the science. It's also on the myths around the existence of depression, as a challenge in society. How serious is our society and our government in terms of dealing with it? And I'm asking you this primarily because just 6 days ago, now Australia, the government of Australia appointed its first deputy chief medical officer for mental health. Now, Ruth Vine was named Australia's first deputy chief officer for mental health, and going on to say that this permanent appointment was, a way in which government seeks to address mental health and and also deal with what could be the ripple effects of the lockdown and COVID-19 post this era. Societally, some of the challenges that a lot of people have posed before us has been the fact that sometimes traditionally and culturally, people are still rejecting, depression, and religiously as well. How true is that, and what would it take for us to have a change in attitude towards, the realization of how original and true, is this, a challenge?
Okay. I think within our South African context, our unique South African context, culture and religion play a very significant role when it comes to understanding and even accepting experiences of depression or even mental health in general. Within our South African context, mental health has has this perception that if you are experiencing any forms of mental health, there are generally other ways that you should deal about it. You either go consult in a cultural manner or in a religious manner, and try and avoid the more institutional or psychiatrists and psychologists and so forth, right? So that really does then bring in a difficulty in having appropriate resources available to individuals. But I think within this pandemic that we are experiencing, mental health we are really experiencing more conversations about mental health. We are really experiencing more resources from our governmental or from our government in terms of pro bono services that are being offered. So there are pro bono or free services that people can access, be it online or even if they want to, even if they have the financial means to access them, they are there to be accessed face-to-face or online. So mental health is something that is really now starting to be considered, but there are still difficulties when it comes to cultural acceptance or cultural and religious acceptance of mental health, primarily because from a cultural and religious perspective, certain things aren't discussed or explored. And when I say certain things, I'm talking about depressive symptoms or experiences that aren't really discussed openly when it comes to those spaces. So it could be that they are stigmatized or that they are seen as a taboo within certain religions, and therefore people are restricted from accessing the appropriate services that they require to be able to cope with and manage the depressive symptoms or anxiety symptoms. So I think while it is really exciting to have these conversations go on, it's really important to bear in mind that a lot of psychoeducation needs to be happening within our communities in terms of what the faces of mental health look like, what the face of depression looks like. And just maybe a quick example that we can all sort of relate to. When we think of mental health and what I mentioned earlier, when we think of mental health, it's this picture of, this person who is down and they have this clear sign of depression or clear indicators of depression in that they isolate themselves or they look sad all the time or they're crying all the time. But if we look at experiences over the years, even if we're looking at our media or celebrities and influential people in those spaces, we can see that it isn't necessarily that. If we look at comedians who have taken their lives, and I'm making reference now to a comedian who passed, I think I stand to be corrected, it could be within the past few years, I think it's Robin Williams, who took his own life because of depression. see him in this space where he's making people laugh, but behind closed doors, he's experiencing, or he was experiencing, difficulty with his own depression. We see it in a lot of celebrities who portray this certain image, but when they really come out and speak about their experiences, they are experiencing depressive symptoms that as people or as regular people out of this limelight, we can relate to and we can, connect with. But we haven't really had that space to sort of express ourselves in terms of saying, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I am having difficulty with, and this is what I need support with, or this is what I need assistance with in terms of treating or getting the right coping strategies to deal with this experience.
51 minutes have gone since the hour 7 o'clock, and just before I let you go, and I think it's important for us to, also comprehend, our influence as people around those that are depressed. If I'm around a recovering person from depression, what should be my attitude? What should be my conduct toward them? Sometimes we in as much as we want to care, it becomes too much. But sometimes we are not aware. At what point should we sort of comprehend the limit to caring, and also understand the balance to say, okay, this is how far you can assist, and this is how far, these are the right things to say. This is what you say. Because sometimes other people, I'm told, all they want to, all they want is for you to listen to them. So how should I react around such a person?
So I think a very important thing is when we're looking at coping strategies for individuals suffering from or battling with experiences of depression, it's about establishing a good support structure. And it's important that this support structure have an understanding of depressive experiences. So they need to then educate themselves about depression and what depression is, so that they are able to support the people that are coming to them for support. And that support it's more an encouragement. It's not about micromanaging this person and telling them they need to do this, and sort of like nagging them. It's about having a fine balance between encouraging them to access the right services, or to continue with their treatment, or to continue with their coping strategies, but without overwhelming them or without judgment. So respecting their rights to confidentiality and respecting their autonomy as a human being. They are still responsible for their own decisions. So it isn't about managing them and managing their every detail of their every life experience. So allowing them to feel that you can be there and you can listen and witness their journey. But it isn't about you taking the control of their journey and making sure, okay, you're going to see a psychiatrist today, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. It's about joining in with them to help them through that experience, and allowing them to sort of give you the directive in terms of what sort of help they need, what assistance they need from you. If it's that they just need you to listen, if it's that they just need you to distract them, it's about allowing them to give you the pace to support them with, and not really overwhelming them with your anxiety of their depressive symptoms, because then creates another cycle for them about managing your anxiety. So it really is about trying to find a fine line between how you encourage, and I would say the best way to find that fine line is to ask this individual, how can I assist you through this process? And they then give you sort of the guidelines and the space to sort of manage yourself and manage your assistance to them.
54 minutes after the hour, 7 o'clock, and that is Awesome Pombe was speaking to us at this point in time, a specialist in depression. I'm letting you go, Mpo, but before I let you go, your closing arguments. How can a person that is suffering from depression now, which sources can you recommend where they can receive help?
Okay, so there are a lot of sources online that they can access. But I would say one that is quite reputable and is really doing a lot of work in this pandemic, that they can really access and find additional resources, maybe that are closer to them if they want to go for face-to-face. I would say they can go onto the SADC website, so just www.sadag.org, and that would help them in terms of getting the right resources for them, or even just looking up maybe on a Google search, putting in psychologist near me, and they can find resources in that way, or even looking for free online services that are being offered either on or either near them if they want to decide to go to these services face-to-face day after the lockdown period, maybe when the restrictions are less, they can look for more closest sources or resources. But I would say maybe as a first port of call, try the SADC website. We also run quite a lot of support groups online, and they also run weekly, or not weekly, but daily sessions or support groups from, I think, 1 to 2 that run daily, that individuals can sort of just plug in on and get information from, and that's on their Facebook page. So that is one resource I could recommend, but there are obviously a multitude of resources that people can access that are online. It's just about going in and searching resources that you feel would align to what you are looking for and what you feel would be beneficial for you. Pretoria Psychologist is also a resource that I can recommend that has online services as well as face-to-face services, and also runs a monthly support group. So those are the resources that I think I can sort of recommend for now.
Tshwane, that is awesome, Mpo. Thank you so much for talking to us and giving us all the assistance. I'm truly, I think, sort of educated at this point in time. And I think each and every person that has been tuning in, and those that have been asking questions as well in terms of how do you deal with a person that is suffering from depression, from all those WhatsApps. I hope that you guys responded. Thank you so much, Mpo, and a very great evening to you, my sister.
Thank you very much, and thank you to your listeners for listening and tuning into the show. And I just wanted to say I really enjoyed how you are asking your listeners to sort of send voice notes or what their experience of depression was and how they are overcoming that, because that's how you build sort of coping strategies. Sharing ideas with people or hearing other people's ideas can be very encouraging and supportive as well. So that I really appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
It's 58 minutes after the hour, 7 o'clock. That is Awesome Pombewe, and she is, a specialist in dealing with depression. And this is where we leave it tonight. But I can't man. We take a quick break with Tshwane News. When we come back, we play one, and this one is by our brother Nati, and the title of the song. Let's go to the break. When we come back, we hear that lovely song from Nati.
Tunamhla isemakhaya ikhulumisa abantu ngetindzaba te-lockdown. Sawubona babe, siyakwamukela. Yini ngayisho ngendzaba ye-lockdown?
Sisomile inyanza leyo Nkosi yami. Konyiwe, some ndansi, soma nasetulu. Sekuphele ngishone kudla Nkosi yami, ngikhuluma nje itolo loku ngende maqanza nge-anointing oil ya Pastor Nyalunga utangiqolele.
On Tshwane FM 93.6. Tshwane FM is taking over Pretoria. Tshwane FM 93.6. The future is now. Tshwane FM 93.6, the station that brings you the most. Provide people safe, effective, and affordable vaccines.
Tshwane FM 93.6.
This one is titled Wile Kaya, and it's by Nati Mangai.
Mama, kalobu tata, uye wasiya no mama, uchuza buya, usayo kage ni mandi, ungana kanje, akaga buye nekaya, abasanga buye na mandi, abasanga buye nekaya, abasanga buye na mandi. Samulele mama, kukusikulisa kwake, ungekumani, mamendekele nungangi, sinagatetina, umama yepa, abana kanje, itise kulele mama, kukutaka kasanga mwene mali, abasanga muyene kaya, abasanga muyene mali, tata muyene kaya, abasanga muyene mali, abasanga muyene kaya, abasanga muyene mali.
City's number one. Tshwane FM 93.6. South City's number one radio station. Call us now. 010-382-4936. That's 012-382-4936.